Every continent on our planet has its own mysteries and legends that are attached to it. There is, however, one continent shrouded in so much mystery that it's almost impossible to separate myth from truth. At the center of things like Nazis, flat earth theory, extraterrestrials, the lost land of Atlantis, waterfalls of blood, and a lake under the ice that hadn't seen sunlight for 15 million years until a few years ago. Is this place a tropical paradise? Or is it a frozen wasteland? The only thing that we know for certain is that this place is known to us today as Antarctica.
Welcome to the Skeptaholics Podcast, your source for all things conspiracy, true crime, unexplained, and unsolved.
We lose him?
All we ask is that you keep an open mind and always question everything.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Skeptaholics Podcast. I want to thank you for joining in with us today. Today, we have a great episode that we talked about last week. We were covering the myths and legends of Antarctica. My name is Jamie, and I'm 1/3 of this podcast. I'm here as always with the second third of the podcast, Paul. What's up, brother?
How's it going?
And rounding us out and keeping us grounded is our resident logical third of the podcast, producer Bill. What's up, Billy?
How's it going, everybody?
All right, boys. They've been waiting a week. Let's get into it.
All right. Well, tonight we're going to cover an array of different conspiracies. A lot of them didn't have a lot of good information out there on them, so a few of them we're going to brush over quick. But we're going to cover ancient civilizations in Antarctica, the Antarctic Treaty. We're going to cover UFO portals into Hollow Earth, as well as the topic that Bill is going to lead us off with. It's a mysterious octopus. We have a few other smaller topics that we'll brush over as well too, but that's going to kind of be the brunt of what tonight is about. So I guess without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Bill and let him tell us about what everybody has been waiting for. So
I'm so excited.
Unreal. Okay, so my topic is going to be the Russian expedition to Antarctica and Organism 46b, otherwise known as that giant squid. This could very well be debunked, but we're not here for that. It's all about the Skeptaholics Podcast, right? So we're going to lay out all the information we've been able to find. You do what you do with it, research it, let me know what you think about it. If you have anything you want to add, just toss it in the comments and we'll be moderating. So without further ado, here we go.
Give it to us.
The mysterious Antarctic expedition we're about to talk about has been locked under classification by the Russian Federation government. There is hardly any research sources that can be found or cited, as the only source that has been released is the information that lead researcher Anton Podolka has released. The expedition team consisted of Podolka and an unknown number of crew. The expedition was set out to take place in Lake Vostok, which is located in the southeast quadrant of Antarctica, as looking at it from a map. The body of research that I will present today is, again, very loosely based off of Soul account, and I'll do my best to use it to give a play-by-play of the events that unraveled that week-long expedition. Moving forward, Russian geographer Andrei, and forgive me if I fucking butcher these names, they are all Russian. So
It's Russian,
good.
dude.
just gonna say that. Andrei Kapitsa first noticed the lake in seismic soundings made during the Soviet Antarctic expeditions in 1959 and 1964. These expeditions were launched with the goal of measuring the thickness of the ice sheet. Airborne radar experiments by British and Russian researchers further in 1993 confirmed the discovery of the unusual lake. The lake had been ice covered for at least 15 million years, possibly up to 34 million years, based on who you look to and who you talk to. Lake Vostok is one of the largest lakes on Earth in size and volume and is buried beneath over 13,000 feet or 2.2 miles of ice. The lake itself is 143 miles long, 31 miles wide, with a liquid depth of 2,625 feet once beneath the ice. On February 5th, 2012, Russian scientists successfully drilled through and breached the ice lake. They speculated that they would find microorganisms and basic forms of life beneath the ice, and they in fact did. They discovered that the Lake Vostok may harbor a unique ecosystem based on chemicals in the rocks instead of sunlight as we, as humans, use. Living in isolation for hundreds of thousands of years, the types of organisms they found suggested that they derived their energy from minerals present in the lake and sources from underlying bedrock that make up the lake's bed. The giant squid itself, which has come to be known as organism 46b, is a massive squid-like creature with at least 14 tentacles. It can hypnotize and prey.
Unreal.
Yeah, it can hypnotize its prey and paralyze humans at a speculated distance of 150 feet. It does so by releasing a poisonous venom into the water that spreads rapidly. Organism 46b can completely camouflage itself while it stalks its prey, reportedly even shapeshifting to fool its unsuspecting victims. It has also been noted to use telepathy to communicate. Shortly after the successful breaching of the ice, the team noticed irregularities in radio communications as well as navigation instrumentation. Once the ice was breached, the team entered the cavern between the ice and the surface of the lake and descended into the depths of the icy water, carrying on with their research. Sometime later, scientists noticed organism 46b stalking them. Once the group was aware of it and knew it was aware of them, it became the battle of the wits for survival. Podolka stated that the organism was very intelligent, even speculating it to be as intelligent as a human being. It displayed shape-shifting capabilities, even mimicking human form, going as far as appearing as another diver. It would camouflage itself, come in closer and inspect the divers, and then disappear without a shadow of a doubt. It was a toying with them as far as they were concerned. The divers were overcome, and ultimately, Organism 46b was responsible for the death of at least 2 researchers from the team of the expedition, one of whom met his fate due to the organism's venom being released into the water. By the time the second scientist had realized what the organism was doing, it had grabbed him, torn him apart, and consumed him. According to Badalka's eyewitness account, the second man uh, had tread water with a blissful smile as the organism approached him. Padalka was quoted saying, "We watched helplessly as it used its tentacles to tear off his head and pop the remains into his mouth. It was as if it hypnotized him and took away all fear as it approached. The shapeshifting capabilities of Organism 46b seemed almost diabolical. It shapeshifted itself into a form of a human diver and tricked everybody." Padalka was also quoted as saying, "We thought it was one of my colleagues swimming towards us in scuba gear." Moving forward,
So
after.
hang on.
Okay,
So
here we go.
all right.
We're about to get fucking bombs dropped on us from Pants.
Pants has been so waiting for this moment.
Absolutely cock
Okay.
stiff.
All right. So first things first. This is why I live in the Midwest. There's none of these fucking things here. So why do they call it 46B? Is it just because they don't know exactly what it is? Like it's
Well,
not some type of cephalopod or something?
To be honest, I don't have an exact answer, but
Okay.
from what I've gathered, it's just you know how scientists are. They're like, oh shit, we're gonna name this weird name. I mean, that's as far as I got. I couldn't find any research as to why they named it that.
So this thing just swam up and was like, "What's up, dude? I'm Bill." Like you're saying it looked like divers?
Yeah.
Like it just swam. I was like, "Hey guys, you want to grab a beer after this, or how about I grab your intestines instead?" Like,
It sounded like at first when it approached them, they witnessed it, they saw it, they saw a giant squid, and they're like, oh, okay, that's weird. But then it kept disappearing and then fucking with them, right? And then when it came back, it was shapeshifting, and they thought it was the other divers. By the time they realized that, it's too late. It already killed 2 of them, and that's when they were like, okay, this is not what we thought it was.
So like this is a real life game of Among Us at this point.
Pretty much. And the squid is sus.
That squid is sus. I'm telling you. Emergency meeting.
Wait for it.
I don't
So
the lights,
Unreal.
Pants, yeah, the lights.
Pants missed the lights.
Frozen.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
frozen. So I don't know.
I hate your computer. So, anyways, moving forward.
Okay.
After 5 days.
Ninja, yeah, we are. Sorry, hold on a second. Ninja, yeah, we're talking about Antarctica. We've got a few different conspiracies that we're covering. Sorry, we had a very important question in chat. So.
No worries. So after 5 trying days of battling the creature, the remaining scientists finally trapped the organism 46B in a tank. They brought it to the surface where immediately it was seized by Russian Federation officials. Those officials later told the waiting international press that nothing had been found. The hole has since been plugged, and as far as any average person is aware, no one has ever been back to Lake Vostok. Dr. Podolka has since become a defector and has been granted sanctuary in Switzerland, where he was able to disclose all this information with freedom from prosecution. Much of the information released and declassified was by the Swiss government officials. Podolka believes Russia is attempting to weaponize the organism by breeding the deadly squid and researching the abilities for use in human DNA to create super soldiers. These super soldiers would be able to weaponize the use of the organism's telepathy, cloaking ability, shapeshifting, and hypnotization. Hypnotization. Oh God, here we go. To easily overcome opposition. Anton Podolka fears the ramifications of such an idea coming to fruition. But would anyone put it past Vladimir Putin? Because I mean, I wouldn't. Putin with his daunting past and any lore, it's been greatly speculated that Anton Podolka is the sole survivor of the expedition, as none of the other crew members have come forward with any sort of supporting evidence or claims on behalf of Podolka. This includes even claiming that they were part of the original expedition in general, leading many to believe that if there were any other surviving members of the expedition, they have either been threatened or bribed by the Russian Federation, or that the haunting occurrences of that week's expedition are a memory that they are fighting drastically to suppress. Upon the conclusion of my research, I was left with an opinion of indifference. Curious what you guys think.
Indifference about what?
I don't know, man. There's only one point of view. That's it.
The one point of view is what
the
the hell
logical
they're
part of
breeding
it.
them damn 46 bees with. You said something about breeding. What the fuck are they breeding them with?
Other squids, I'd assume, to
Yeah,
try to get.
I would assume.
I mean, if you think
Why
about
would you,
it,
if this dude can turn into Johnny Sins, who's to say they're not breeding with humans?
I mean, if they're trying to get soldiers, super soldiers that have these abilities, possible that they are.
Exactly. It sounds like they're trying to mix DNA. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but squid and octopus DNA is very similar to ours. It's not very far off.
Don't tell me that.
Yes.
Bill. Don't say that. Can squids and octopus live in freshwater? They must be. Lake Vostok is freshwater.
That's freshwater, yeah. I was going to say, that's freshwater.
Gotta be kidding me.
There goes Pants ever swimming in another lake again. He's going to be fucking chlorine pools, and that's it.
Especially because, like, I mean, most of the people listening probably know where I live, but I don't want to give it away because of stalkers and whatever. But, like, I live on a very large lake. Yeah. Very, very large lake in the Midwest. So, like, probably one of 5 lakes this thing could live in.
Mm-hmm. Easily.
Fuck me.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, it probably needs sub-zero temperatures to survive. So I think you're okay.
It's pretty damn cold.
Unless it's winter.
I don't know. Have you met any Russians? They have a knack for making things pretty fucking adaptive.
I can think of at least 2 of the lakes that stay pretty damn cold most of the year.
Mm-hmm. I can too.
Yeah. So Pants, watch out. Next lake visit you got, just you see a tentacle coming at you.
Good news is I've suddenly developed a fear of water, so there won't be any wet pants around here.
I don't know. I mean, for me, this one needs a lot more supporting evidence. I mean,
I'm right there with you.
So here's where I'm in the middle. Here's one side, here's the other, and my face is right there. On one side, you have the fact that he basically abandoned Russia, went to the Swedish government, or the Swiss government, and said, hey, look, I have this information, and if I let it out without you guys giving me asylum, they're going to kill me. And he went right to government officials with this. So there's got to be something to that. But on the other hand, it's like, okay, this is one fucking guy. We can't find any information on how many were in this expedition. We don't know how many people witnessed this. If we look at the history of expeditions to Antarctica throughout the times since we've been going there, they average anywhere between 1,000 and 4,000 people. How in the fuck have we not had somebody else come out and say, all right, look, what this guy is saying is true. This shit happened.
Because there's
Well, that's what you'd call a massive cover-up.
2 miles of ice above this lake. Nobody else has been down there.
I'm talking somebody else from that expedition.
They're all dead.
We don't know that.
Whoa. What if this... What's that dude's name? Dr. what?
Padalka?
Yeah. What if he's the squid? You said it can change.
But here's
What
the
if
thing
he
about
killed the entire expedition and came back as the doctor? Paul, Paul, I'm gonna need you to kick Pants out of this, and I'm never speaking to him again.
Telling you.
No way, because he's just getting amped up. I mean,
well, okay, so
I
I'm
know
big into this because, like, I don't want to get. Go ahead.
I know why we haven't heard much from him all week. It's because he's been sitting there just dwelling on this,
hiding.
Yes.
Finding out the best way to kill squid. So I'm big. I'm 100% on board with this. There's no convincing me otherwise at this point. And I'm not going to get too far into it because maybe it'll be on another episode. But it leads me to the discovering of mermaids. Did you guys ever see that documentary a few years back? And like to me, it sounds like the same thing, right? Except they found mermaids instead of squid hybrids things. Maybe it's the same thing. And the South African government confiscated everything. So to me, it kind of just like sounds like the same thing. So I am 100%, and you cannot convince me that there is not a giant Dr. Octopus squid thing riding around Russia, snatching all your people up.
Disguised as the Dr. Padalta.
Yeah, that guy.
Yikes. So
I'm in.
I mean, do we have anything else to cover on this?
I mean, that's all I was able to research.
Where are you at? Are you centric? We heard a little bit from you at the end of your read, but what are your honest to God's feelings?
I'm a big fan of logical Bill, so
yeah, being the logical guy I am, it's only one guy with very little source and evidence. But that being said, we're talking about Russia. So, I mean, this is the equivalent of talking about communist China, especially considering Putin was an ex-KGB member. So I would not put it past him to try to cover this up and weaponize it. I mean, within the slightest bit. That being said, this was almost 9 years ago. So, I mean,
that's my other thing.
Maybe we don't fuck with Russia for a little bit.
That's my other thing. Okay, we are currently living in the peak of the information. How has something not leaked?
It's also the peak of misinformation age, though, too.
There is that, but there has to be a picture, a video. There has to be something out there.
I don't know. You're also coming from a point of view of an American point of view. Think of yourself as a Russian scientist, right?
Right.
You're under that regime. Right. So think about that for a second, where they could completely annihilate every evidence, every little speck of evidence that you have. I mean, as much as killing off your entire fucking crew because you were the only one smart enough to defect to a different country. Yeah. I mean, so who really knows? I mean, I think it's just interesting to talk about.
Here's my take on that is, here's the difference between America and Russia. The American government kills people that are threatened to leak things and whatever, and they try to hide it. The Russian government just kills them and says, yeah, we killed them. What the fuck are you going to do about it? So for me, it's like, that makes it scarier almost, like they don't care if we know that they're just like knocking off scientists that find shit.
Yeah.
Fair
enough.
To me, it makes it more plausible than if it was like any other country in the world,
Yeah. Totally.
I don't know.
All right. Well, if we're done with that one, go ahead.
That is, I hope I never find out if that's true or not.
Well, Pants, I'll tell you what. If I find out without a shadow of a doubt that it's true, you're the first fucking person I'm calling.
I'm blocking your number right now.
You don't have to worry about it because he already believes it's true without the shadow of a doubt.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's locked in. He will never swim into anything but a chlorinated pool that he can see the bottom of, and even that is sketchy at best because the fucking thing might shape shift and come in at him in the form of a fly or something. He's not
It's
safe
one of those,
anywhere.
cool little- I mean, honestly, I don't shower much to begin with, and I'm skeptical at this point. It's gonna come. It's gonna shape into one of them little rubber duckies that my kid left in there, and it's gonna.
Well, you know what they say, man. Those squids and octopus can fit through the tiniest of holes. So imagine that drain. It's coming right for you.
Oh, not if this bitch is 100 feet long.
Well, if they can get their beak through it, they can fit through it. Just
They can catch these
imagine.
hands. Too.
All right, well, if we're done with that one, I'm going to move ahead
All right.
with my next topic.
Come on.
Yeah, move
Get
on.
after it.
Let's do it.
I'm going to cover the
Wait.
Antarctic.
Pause. To add on to the end of that, just because I thought of it, this is actually making me worse. One of the odd pictures I found is supposedly of a giant squid. You can see it on Google Earth or Google Maps.
Why don't we cover that topic of yours next then, and that'll be the one that we lead off with.
Okay.
Yeah, do that.
Do you want to pull these pictures up?
Yeah, hit me with it.
Okay, because I don't have all the coordinates, but I have some for someone. For this one, it's 63 degrees.
Hold on, do I have to get into Google Earth first?
Or honestly, just type in on Google, type in the Kraken off the coast of Antarctica, and it should come up right away. So I mean, I don't necessarily think it looks like a giant squid, but it's definitely something. You can see it when you zoom in on the satellite on Google Maps. So when you see it, I guess you can make your own judgment on what you think it is. It's something's there in the middle of the ocean. It kind of looks like something's like underneath the water, kind of coming out of the water. And the speculation is that it's the Kraken or a giant squid or a UFO.
So we got it up on stream right now, I believe, right here.
46B.
It could be that also. Yeah.
Few different
Is
pictures
that it?
of it.
Yeah, so that's the picture. And if you go on Google, not that you have to do this, Paul, but just for people listening, if you go on Google Maps and you can search, it'll give you the actual coordinates, and you can look, and that's not just a Photoshop picture. That's the picture you see when you zoom in.
Yeah, I got one.
Did you mean Google Earth, not Google Maps?
I don't know. I mean Google Maps. I don't have Google Earth. I'm assuming it'd be the same. It's both Google, but on actual Google Maps, you go into Google Maps, you type in the coordinates it gives you, and then you click the satellite mode and then zoom in.
Yeah, I've actually got a picture up right now in correlation to the outer islands and peninsulas. It shows where the picture was taken.
So that might be that 46D or whatever the hell that thing is.
I mean, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised.
Possible. I'm gonna throw this up just to torture pants. Look at that creepy ass looking thing.
No, go up a couple of pictures. Go up. You want to talk about creepy? That thing right there to the right.
One?
Oh, you just passed it. It's like 3 down.
This one.
No. Right. The little fucking that big ass jaw coming out of the water. How are you missing that?
This one?
Yes.
That's a fish though. That's not.
No, I know, but that's gonna terrify your pants. That's all I'm going for at this point. We've already got everything out of the way.
I'm blasting that thing right in the fucking mouth as soon as it comes after me.
So I'm gonna pull that back off stream now. We can cover some of the other pictures. I found a few too that I don't know if you did. In accidental happenstance and the research on my topic. So
yeah, so I just found a couple more. There's actually, if you type this on Google, you type in staircases Antarctica. I didn't have the actual coordinates, but it actually looks like there's like actual legit staircases like built into the mountains. And the speculation is that it's like a UFO landing site, or there's a lot of lore around Antarctica with like the gods and angels and fallen angels and stuff. There's actually in the Book of Enoch, which is something we'll cover in a future episode. It says it makes reference to the fallen angels. Like everybody knows the story of Lucifer, right? And that, but I don't know if a lot of people know, the story goes that he wasn't the only angel cast out of heaven. There was a lot of them. And part of the lore in the Book of Enoch is that those angels are actually trapped on Antarctica. And so part of the lore for the staircases is that like those staircases lead up to the prison that they're held in or whatever. But if you look them up and you find the picture, they look like staircase. It's not like, yeah, that could kind of be a staircase. I mean, it looks like a legit staircase, a large one at that. So
I got it pulled up here, but before I pull it over on the screen, I do want to apologize to our viewers. If you see me looking around a lot, I've got my one small screen off here to the right that I can make a lot less obvious. I had commented last week about needing a third screen for a $20 investment. I turned my 55-inch flat screen TV into a third monitor. So it's just chilling off over here on my entertainment center to my left. So if you see me hard looking, that's what I'm doing.
He's not that schizophrenic.
I'm not like hearing shit outside thinking somebody's trying to come and get me or something like that, but I'm trying to pay attention to chat, watch and see what the stream is doing, make sure that everything's running right, while still pulling up a lot of this stuff and doing a lot of the other behind the scenes work. It's hopefully going to be a temporary thing until I can get my 3 monitors set up in my new desk. So without further ado, here's the pictures of the staircase.
I don't know why I'm not seeing them.
Are
you watching stream?
Yeah, are you watching?
Oh yeah, I didn't know you were looking at it live.
No, I don't. I'm not screen sharing to you guys in Discord right now. So
I thought you were.
No, I'm.
Yeah, so I mean, tell me that doesn't look like a staircase.
Yeah.
That's the stairway to heaven, baby.
It definitely does look like a staircase.
I mean, or just a weird pattern of cloud.
Could be.
It could be, but I mean, here's the deciding factor. Is it something that's reoccurring, or is this a one-time image?
You know? The research I found was that it was reoccurring, but I only found that one picture, so I don't know. Yeah. I guess take it how you want.
And as of right now, it's the only one I can find. But while we are here, I've got a prime example of one of the ones that I found. I know you made mention of something like this, but I think I found a little bit more information on it, so I'm going to click on it while I have it up. These are actually rectangle-shaped icebergs. I don't remember what you had mentioned about rectangle-shaped things in Antarctica.
I didn't get to that yet.
Okay, but this is...
But I'll bang it after you're done with your spiel.
Yep, this is something that, in my research, I found is another reoccurrence throughout numerous different photographs where we're seeing different rectangle-shaped icebergs that are completely unexplainable. Scientists have no explanation for how they could form or anything like that. It's basically like a great big fucking perfectly square or rectangular ice cube floating around out in the ocean.
I mean, them things look like they're cut. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, you don't find stuff that straight in nature.
No.
Hell no.
You know?
No, not at all. So I'll let you touch more on that, and I'll wait to pull up.
Yeah.
That's really odd.
What I found was that there's a actually, if you want to type these coordinates in, it'll bring you right to it.
Okay.
The coordinates are 70.177653 degrees south.
Okay.
And 87.824707 degrees east. And it should bring up a spot like on the northern part of Antarctica. And what it is it not working?
No, it's not. Oh, I think I have one here. Is this what we're looking at?
I'll have to see. So what I found is that it ties into the rectangular icebergs. But it's actually a spot on land that looks like, yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So it almost looks like somebody like whited it out, kind of, to me. You know, you can kind of see the edge of something like they're trying to hide something that the Google Images.
I mean, I hate to be the asshole that says it, but that looks like your staircase. That looks like a clearer
Yeah.
picture of a not snow covered staircase that they tried to edit out.
Could be 100%. Either way, it's odd. I mean, you know, the thing is, from my research, is you don't find stuff like this on anything but Antarctica. I mean, you find odd pictures, but there's many examples of like this happening where it looks like they tried to redact.
Well, hey,
what-
there is a fuck ton of that information on just Google Earth in general.
Yes.
That's like a whole conspiracy theory we could cover,
Yeah.
like and set out for a podcast, because it's not just Antarctica. While a lot of it is based there, I'll give you that. I've seen a lot of stuff on Google Earth with Antarctica.
Yeah.
You zoom in, you see it, you kind of see something weird, and then you get closer, and it's all blurred out or blacked out or something. Yeah, I mean, not surprised at all. I feel like there's a lot of that going on with Google Earth.
So here's one. Did you find anything about the Red Cross on Antarctica?
Yep, that was going to be the not my next one, but the one after that.
Okay, I have that pulled up right now. I can
Okay.
open another window and cover your next one if you want to.
Okay. So actually, I'll actually do the Red Cross one first, because then my
Okay.
last one deals with pyramids. So
Okay.
I figured that'd be a good end to what you're talking about.
Yeah, later on, I'm going to cover the treaty first.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So in 2018, one prominent YouTuber, and I had his name, but I kind of took it out because I don't really know how we're doing with promoting people and stuff. But it's like, you can find it if you
Yeah.
search on YouTube. You can find it. The video is still up. He claimed that when he enabled the weather feature on Google Earth, a red cross appeared on the screen when he looked at certain locations in Antarctica. And it's like, I saw pictures, and it's like a giant. It almost looks like a Knights Templar emblem, like they had on their shields and stuff. And his theory was that Google, as a company, is privy to top level secrets, which, I mean, to me, isn't a stretch. I mean, when a company's that big and has that much money, they probably stumble across things.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But obviously, we as common folk aren't meant to find out. But his theory is that one employee was trying to secretly leak the info out without being caught. What I found is that what is found at the cross's location isn't really known, but many think it could be a secret base, hidden technology, or alien life.
Okay. And I actually, in looking at this versus the map of Antarctica that I'm going to use later on, it closely relates to another point on that map. Second, all if it was South Pole, actual pole, or if of base, and that's when I get into covering the treaty stuff. What is going to make that really compelling is this is the most inland research base on the entire continent of Antarctica, and I'll zoom back in on a picture and pull it over as I cover the treaty. Basically, our government's no spoiler alerts, but we're gonna kind of look like a pretty large piece of fucking scum as I start digging into this.
100%.
So, but here's the pictures of the Red Cross stuff in correlation to the continent, both on a globe and a general map. So, I mean, you can see it's just north of the point, I believe, where
Yeah,
this
it's
base is at.
not very far off.
No, I mean, if that white circle is the South Pole, it's pretty close to it. And I couldn't remember if the pole was set exactly center. I've got another picture to pull up, but there's something on the other picture that ties in very close to that location. So it'll be something, at least to keep in mind.
Yeah. So then the last kind of goofy picture that I found that I could actually find proof of is another picture. If you look it up on Google Maps, you can find it. There's strange objects bearing strong resemblance to a pyramid. Like
Already got it. It popped up.
Okay, think pyramids of Egypt.
Yep.
I mean, it could be a mountain range, I guess, but I mean it. I don't think I've seen a mountain range that looks like that. Not saying that they don't exist. I'm not a geography expert, but they look odd from the picture. They definitely look like some kind of pyramid that that they find in Egypt and like the Mayans and kind of all the connections.
Well,
that
every
link up there.
ancient civilization had some sort of period.
Well, and that's just it. And they all differed. You look at the difference between Mayan pyramids and Egyptian pyramids, but they all had kind of the same thing going on at the same time. So I'm going to pull.
It's a little off topic, but they all ended up lining up in a perfect line around the world, almost forming a separate equator, if you will. Different topic for a different time, but thought it was ad worthy there.
Definitely. I'm going to pull this.
For civilizations that supposedly never met. I mean, they never
met each other.
Yeah.
There's no way they could have. Yeah.
I mean, that's way too much of a coincidence for a guy like me.
Before I pull this over, Ninja wants to know if we got the conspiracy about the portal. Which one is that?
Ooh, I didn't. Not sure we touched on that one. Which one's you referring to?
I don't know if it has to do with the pyramids or.
I think he was talking about the like the holes in that were supposedly made by the meteor, possibly.
Okay.
Portal that leads from Hawaii to Antarctica.
Yeah, we're gonna kind of touch on that a little bit. With the more of the UFO stuff that we're gonna cover here soon. There is a little bit. I figured that was you. But there is a little bit of touch on that, but we're trying to save a lot of that because we are going to do, future podcasts. There'll be numerous episodes on aliens and Bermuda Triangle, stuff like that. So we'll find a way to cover that in there. A lot of the things that we are going to cover, we tried to save for future episodes where we can dive deeper.
Well, especially because a lot of these that we'll cover, they kind of intersect. A lot of them. They intersect with each other, and you don't want to give too much away because you literally could be getting into another episode.
Yeah. By the way,
exactly.
Pants, I got to tell you, Dad is watching, but he doesn't have an account yet, so he can't comment. But he texted me and told me
that way.
He told me to tell you that you're gonna be afraid of soap too at this rate.
If soap starts fucking changing their head from down the street, I'm gonna kill my ass. Absolutely.
So anyway, I'm gonna pull this picture over of the pyramids in Antarctica. There's a couple different ones here. I think it was up farther. You can see more of an outline theme here than just the one that was in the previous image. But there's a number of different.
Yeah, I mean, I think the theory is that people, say, "Oh, they're a mountain range." It could be. I don't know.
I do cover that in mine, and I'm willing to spoiler that part of it. One of the theories behind this is that this is a mountain range. I mean, let me go back to the overhead view if I can. So the theory is that this is a mountain range that is starting to poke up through the ice. Now, mind you, like Bill said when he covered, for lack of better terms, the Kraken. The ice. Yeah. The ice on Antarctica is up to 2 to 3 miles thick in places. So this isn't far-fetched to think, but you'd figure that it would carve more to a point than it would a vast difference like that. It's hard to kind of explain away.
Yeah.
As being just a mountain top.
Yeah, it looks. I mean, when you pull up the other picture, to me, it's kind of like those pyramids.
Yeah, it's
are
too perfect.
The icebergs, not the pyramids. Kind of like those icebergs. Like the sides are just too straight.
Yeah.
You just don't find things like that in nature.
Yeah, no earthquake is going to create something that precise. I mean, it's
Right.
just not
Or-
Well,
possible.
and even if you
water.
buy in how general land is formed over hundreds of thousands of years, like I said, I see if the ice were to carve that like that, I see it being more of a needle point coming up out of the land than a broad tip like that.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So I don't know that one. I went deep on ancient civilizations. I think I've got like
Good.
2 pages or maybe 2.5 pages of shit on that. Out of everything that I researched, that's the one that I really enjoyed the most. So I'm saving that one for last.
Yeah.
But
There
So,
you go.
if you guys don't have anything else, I got a couple of more theories here
hit us.
as to what's going on down
Yeah, lay
there.
them on me.
This one, kind of, I'm not a big fan of because I don't. But anyways, I'll
Because
get into it.
fuck
There's
aliens.
a theory. No, it's worse than that.
Oh boy.
So the theory is that Antarctica actually doesn't exist, and that comes from flat Earth theory. So the theory, it mainly comes from the theory of flat Earth. It states that a flat Earth actually consists of the North Pole being at the center of the world, and all the continents spread out around it. Antarctica is then actually a giant ice wall that acts almost like a bowl to keep all the water in. The idea is that you set your course south from anywhere on Earth, you will eventually find yourself stopped in front of a massive wall of ice somewhere in the range of 100 to 200 feet tall that extends around the entire circumference of the world. And that's supposedly their reasoning for why flights don't fly over Antarctica, but they fly over the North Pole. And that's why there's polar bears and orcas and everything on the North Pole, but there's only supposedly penguins on the South Pole and supposedly this 46B thing. I guess that's one of the theories about Antarctica is that, again, it's not actually there. I don't know what you guys think about that one, but I don't want to dive too far into flat Earth because it sounds like that might be an episode again,
Yeah.
an episode that in the future. But I don't. That's one.
So-
like I'm super into conspiracies and stuff, but flat Earth is not one for me. I'm
Not really my cup of tea either, but I mean, I'm willing to dive into it. I mean, that's the
Nin-
point of our podcast, right?
Ninja did have a good question. As far as flat Earth goes,
it's a conspiracy, bro.
yeah, I'll dive into it a little bit without getting too much into a whole nother episode. But basically, the theory of flat Earth is that the Earth is a disc. It's like holding a dinner plate up, and that all of the water flows over the sides, and somehow because of gravitational pull comes back up through the center, and it's like a constant waterfall. The other theory is that Antarctica, and we'll get into this with this Antarctic treaty a little bit, is just basically a like 40-mile high wall around flat Earth. So if they're trying to keep it from us, they wouldn't really put that on a geographical map. They're going to try to lead us to believe what they want us to believe, like with any other conspiracy. So to answer your question, it really wouldn't, because they're kind of controlling, if that is the case, anything that's being released to us.
Totally.
But
Yeah.
so did you want to cover the rest of yours here quick, and then I'll just finish
Yeah.
off?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we have a little bit of overlap. We talked about the Piri Reyes map, which you'll get into.
Yep.
But the other thing that I had was that there's supposedly a crater to the entrance of the center of the world. There's a lot of speculation about there being alien portals across much of the Earth. The primary focus of these conspiracies are the mysterious triangles, like everybody's heard of the Bermuda Triangle. There's a few of them, other ones too. There's supposedly a triangle in the Great Lakes. I think there's one that's supposed to be one in like Alaska or something, but Bermuda's the big one.
Yeah.
But they span all across the globe. They're in every country, and it's where mysterious things happen, like electronic fog and people disappearing, and supposedly UFOs coming out of these areas and whatever.
Gotcha.
But recently, there's been a new conspiracy popping up on the internet about two craters on Antarctica. In January 2019, it was reported that scientists from NASA and the German Aerospace Center had discovered a crater deep underneath the permafrost of Antarctica. Although it was only recently reported, the crater was actually first discovered during an analysis of satellite images in Antarctica in 2006. Scientists think the crater was formed by one of the asteroids that hit the Earth millions of years ago and caused the extinction of the dinosaurs. However, conspiracy theorists like myself
And me.
do
There
not
you
think
go.
so.
There you go.
And Paul. Sometimes Bill, depending on the topic.
Eh,
We don't think so. They have suggested that the crater is actually part of a secret Nazi base that was mentioned earlier. Others believe that the crater was discovered during a U.S. Navy operation to find the entrance to the Earth, and they think the crater could be the entrance.
so I take it this is a hollow Earth theory
Yeah.
we're going with here.
Yeah,
Yep.
essentially, we're think like Journey to the Center of the Earth with Brendan Fraser, whatever that terrible movie was. Couldn't find a ton of information on it, but from what I could find, and by what I could find, I mean Paul, because I'm reading his research here because I'm a scrub. Is
No,
that
you're not.
Mammon-
It's just a lot of what I found overlapped with what you were covering about the single
Yeah.
portal. I was researching the 2 portals that they thought were alien portals, so I sent it over to you just so you could cover it all in one.
I'm just big on self-deprecating humor. So,
Okay.
so a man by the name of Scott Warning, which is hilarious that he's a UFO conspiracy theorist.
Here we go.
He claims that in the original images he found on Google Earth, you could clearly see the image of a UFO going into the cavern. However, now when the image is searched, like many other images on Google Earth, the UFO has been edited or blacked out. These portals are believed to either be used for interdimensional travel or fast travel across the globe by UFOs, which I'm assuming covers Ninja's question there of the portal from Hawaii to Antarctica,
Yeah.
and supposedly many other places. Other conspiracy theorists have jumped on board with Warning's claims, but have suggested that they are interested to things like Hollow Earth, a secret government facility, an alien base, a reptilian hideout, or possibly the secret Nazi base that it's called New Schwabia or whatever the hell. I think we'll probably get into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we'll cover that when we cover the Nazi regime. Ninja asked another question, and he's asking if the Earth is like mechanical. No. Under Hollow Earth theory, it's basically our crust, our core is so thick, and once you breach that core, you open up to like an alien base inside of Earth, or a reptilian base, whatever conspiracy theory you follow with. There's basically a whole nother civilization inside of Earth. So
yeah, almost like another world.
Yeah.
Almost like another like continent, if you will.
Yep.
But
So
inside.
I hope
all
that
this-
that helps answer that question for you. Chat, either you two have any questions, comments, anything about anything that we've covered that we haven't already interjected with?
I'm still not a fan of that 46 whatever breeding with. I don't know. I want to know what the hell they're breeding them with, because I'm not okay with that.
It's the Russians. It's probably everything.
They're probably the Russians are Putin
Again.
himself is probably breeding that thing.
Yes.
Again, human DNA, not very far off. So at this
Yeah,
point,
neither is
Putin
banana
himself
but they're not-
could
they're
be 46B. If you want to get
I
that
mean-
crazy with it.
not-
Fun fact that we could actually, we could probably make an episode out of this, but did you know that Putin's actually autistic? He's within spectrum.
Did not know that.
Yes.
he's also a fucking octopus, so
Yeah. So I mean, he's already fucking ahead of the curve. So I don't care about whatever spectrum he's on.
Yes. Okay, moving forward. The Antarctic
All right.
Treaty System. So, the Antarctic Treaty System is a piece of legislature drafted December 1st, 1959 and enacted June 23rd, 1961. There's many conspiracies surrounding the Antarctic Treaty, ranging from the hiding of the edge of the dome, which is part of the flat earth belief, extraterrestrial activity, post-war Nazi civilizations, including the department which drafted the treaty and presented it to NATO, which is the United States Bureau of Arms Control, Verification, and Compliance. As of the year 2020, 54 of the 193 nations have signed on to the treaty agreement, with a huge push to continue to get the others to follow suit. In a nutshell, The treaty outlines a basic demilitarization of the continent of Antarctica as the main focus of the legislation. Basic breakdown on that is everybody who signs this basically says we're not going to go there, we're not going to try to set up an air base, we're not going to try to set up a naval base, anything like that. We cannot have any military outposts of any sort on Antarctica.
As far as I understand, you're technically not allowed to have like firearms. Like you're not even allowed to bring.
I didn't find anything about that within the treaty. I didn't delve that deep into it because I
have also heard that though. You cannot bring any weapons.
That's just what I understood. I didn't read that. Nothing said.
Yep.
But that's kind of how I understood it. Basically, like you can't even bring. I mean, don't you? If that Kraken thing comes after you, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You can't have nothing.
Basically, you know, it doesn't surprise me if that's the case. I have heard that as well, but like I said, after last week's read with my introduction into the topic being too much of a history lesson, I didn't want to delve super deep into the legislature itself and have it get boring. So, there's a heavy secondary focus on science and exploration, as well as preservation. However, with that said, there is 16 zones in which any and all activity is banned. These 16 zones compile about 75% of the continent's mass. So, right now, per this treaty, we're only allowed to explore 25% of Antarctica.
Can I cut you off there?
Absolutely.
Dirty C in the comments brings up a very good point. He says, I just don't see how they can hide this as a team when they have so many nations can't get along for more than a decade at a time. I mean, I couldn't have said it better.
I just actually replied to him. Maybe it's a ploy. Maybe us not getting along is a ploy to make it unbelievable.
Yeah.
To make it unbelievable that could ever happen, so that we don't ever.
I mean, that's why.
I mean, I get, everything's a conspiracy, man. Everything.
I get where he's coming from, but
absolutely.
You also, if you dive into any of the other larger, more mainstream conspiracies, you start to get into New World Order shit and stuff like that. There's a higher power above these countries that basically say, "Hey, look, this is how it's got to be." I forgot my ring light.
Well, if that's the case, why do they not have control already?
Of what?
Yeah, of what?
Of everybody. I mean, if they're gonna dictate that, I mean, think about it for a second.
That's why
it's the logical side. I am sorry. I love conspiracies.
No, keep logical Bill in. Don't box them up.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
for fuck's sake, if we can't stop fighting with each other, how the hell are we going to make an agreement that strong?
Ross the Boss brings up a really good point. It's true. Why do you think everyone waits on what America does? I mean, that's a very valid point. We are supposedly the strongest nation in the world. There is a huge following to see what we're gonna do before anybody else locks in a following suit. So
totally.
But
sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Continue.
No, you're good. You're good. Antarctica sees year-round habitation with about 4,000 people in the summer and about 400 people in the winter staying on the continent at all times. It is about 1.5 times the size of the United States, and 99% of that is covered in ice. Many countries have dealings on the continent, however, the United States, and this is where things get really fucking shady. Alright, I am like fucking just stiff about this as part of the conspiracy. This fucking throws my world sideways.
Here we go.
The United States is the primary policing force, supplying military personnel as well as U.S. Marshals to govern the lands. You may be asking,
even though we're not allowed to have military there.
You may be asking if it's only research going on there and it's supposed to be demilitarized, why must we have a police force? That's exactly one of the points that garners so many conspiracies. Only other country to ever conduct any form of policing on Antarctica is Russia. 2012, a team of 8 officials, 4 U.S. and 4 Russian Federation officials, conducted for the first time ever inspections of all the other countries' research facilities. I'm gonna pause there for you boys.
So hold on. You said 2012.
Yeah.
So the same year that giant squid 46B just coincidence that it happens to be the same fucking year.
Yep.
Makes you wonder, huh?
That's why when you covered that, I went from this to this on level of stiffness.
Dude, I'm 12 o'clock noon right now. Can't see it, but it's there.
Big fan of that.
All right, so these mysterious contradictions paired with other clauses in the legislature, such as tour guides are only able to guide by land, air, or sea tour expeditions at a set distance into the continent. I wasn't able. At one point in time, I had the information locked down like a year and a half ago. I believe, if memory serves me correct, we're not allowed to go as a citizen more than 46 miles or 14 miles into the continent of Antarctica.
I thought 14. I was about to say 14, I think is what I remember. So
okay. Yep. So I think it was one of those two with the 4.
Either way, right, in relative to the size of Antarctica, it's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically allowed on the shore, and that's like pretty much it.
If you were to go to your local beach, you set foot on the stand, and that's about the equivalent of what you'd be allowed to explore in relation to the lake on Antarctica. So it's, highly suspect there. A lot of
hang on, Ross asked if it was air miles or land miles, like as the crow flies, or land miles.
It's as the crow flies. It's a 14-mile distance from an agreed radius around. So if they take the farthest out point of Antarctica and say, all right, it's going to be 14 miles from here, we're going to set that radius and just draw, that's what you can explore.
So Dirty C also asked, HARP Research Facility?
That is actually one of our later podcast subjects.
That's what I thought.
We're gonna start putting on like 3 episodes a week, boys.
I know, right?
Fucking hell.
And Ninja says they restrict it due to weather conditions, but there could be something more than we know, and that's exactly why we're covering this right now. Because very well could be something more than what we know.
Convenient.
Yeah. So, getting back to what I was saying about the mileage distance, it's also believed, touching on flat Earth again a little bit, that the reasoning for that in the legislation is that they're worried that you're going to fly too far in and hit the dome that covers flat Earth, or you're going to hit the 40-mile wall of ice that surrounds flat Earth. There's numerous different theories about that. Moving forward, though, by land, air, or sea, expeditions have a set distance into the continent, a restriction on who can take the tours. So you, me, our audience sitting here right now can't just go and say, all right, we're going to hop on a boat and go take this tour. You have to go through a vetting process. They pick and choose, hand pick through this federation, and I believe they meet every 2 or every 4 years who can go there. And they cover civilians, researchers, government officials. They handpick everybody at these summits. And that's what's set out for the next duration of time until the next meeting. You have to apply to do this shit.
I spaced out for a second there. Did you say that it's, from what my research is basically like Russian expeditions?
No, I actually have a map I'm going to pull up after this. There's a great deal of countries that do.
Is there? Okay.
Yeah.
I was hearing that it was basically like it was like Russian ships were the only ones, and I was like, yeah, that's sketchy.
It's possible. I didn't find that, but the map that I have outlines the countries that are able.
Proceed.
This legislation, in addition to the legislation, was proposed in 2008 by the United States. It was actually proposed by Hillary Clinton, who was the Secretary of State at the time. and it cooks up much of the conspiracies around the Antarctic Treaty. You know, if we can't all go there, what are they trying to hide, kind of thing. Much of this was a result of a cruise ship that had hit an iceberg that was kind of unvetted to go there, and it sunk in the waters off of the coast of Antarctica earlier in 2008. All crew and passengers were rescued. Seemingly, though, every excuse governed is under the guise of maintaining environmental quality and control. Everything that I found throughout every inch of that legislation, even though I didn't cover every inch, I read through it, everything comes back to environmental quality and control. Moving forward here, and this is something you'll be able to touch on a little bit too, Pants. In August of 1946, an expedition was launched by the United States Navy. Now, this predates the legislation. Sorry, I gotta keep up with you guys. Aye. So this predates any of this Antarctic Treaty legislation. In August of 1946, an expedition was launched by the United States Navy, headed by Rear Admiral Richard E. Boyd Jr. I'm glad neither one of you laughed at that. Thank you.
It's Bird. It's Bird.
Yes,
Richard.
Bird. Thank you.
I was just gonna leave it alone, but that's fine.
I misread it. I'm sorry. I was trying to focus on not having you guys set me off by laughing at Rear Admiral. So.
Hey. My dad is a Rear Admiral, so much respect, Pop.
Okay.
You're watching.
The operation was dubbed.
I'm leaving it alone.
Unreal.
You guys aren't making my editing job
I know.
Thank you.
I understand. Continue.
You're fine. Proceed.
I'm going to restart that entire sector. In August of
go
1946, an expedition was launched by the United States Navy, headed by Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd Jr. The operation was dubbed Operation High Jump. The expedition consisted of 4,700 men, 13 ships, and 33 aircraft. The mission's main focus was to establish sovereignty over the majority of the continent, to gain control of it, as well as training and equipment, frigid temps, and developing and maintaining air bases on ice. Though few casualties were reported, many speculate that Operation High Jump was actually a covert mission down the remaining forces of the Nazi military and, of course, Hitler. This operation lasted 6 months in total, ending in February of 1947, and from my count that I could find, total loss of life was around 25.
That's what I saw.
All in all, there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding the continent. I'll save that for the very end. I'm reading out of order here. So
you're fine.
Did you have anything to touch on Operation High Jump, Pants? I know you had a little bit too.
Yes, I do. So
let's go.
A little bit delving into that a little bit more. Basically ended up being essentially an invasion of Antarctica, right? It's like how it kind of sounds. Something that's kind of fishy is that one of the ships involved with Operation High Jump, the USS Pine Island, was a Currituck class seaplane tender. So basically, it's a ship that just kind of, literally, what it says, it kind of helps out seaplanes as they're flying around with like refueling and things like that. It was laid down 16th November 1942 at Todd Shipyard Corporation in San Pedro, California. It was launched the 26th of February 1944 and given the commission name USS Pine Island on 26 April 1945. The ship served through the final months of the Second World War and the immediate post-war period, but was decommissioned on May 1st, 1950. When the Korean War broke out, the ship was recommissioned on October 7th, 1950. She was finally decommissioned for good on June 16th, 1967. So this was one of the main ships that was being used in this Operation High Jump. But here's where the story gets interesting. The USS Pine Island was struck from the Naval Register at some point from the time it was commissioned until now.
Oh, hold on there. We lost Bill.
We lost Bill again.
Yep. We'll give him a few minutes. I think he crashed.
Ross says that you keep cutting in and out.
Yeah, it's the angle I was sitting at. It's my mic's off to my left and I'm reading from my right. So thanks for the heads up. I will keep that in mind and kind of try to sit back over here, maybe adjust myself a little bit when I do read.
There, that actually sounds a lot better.
Yeah.
You just moved like that.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting for Bill.
My mom says the squid got him.
Yes.
So, god damn it.
Fucking squid.
I'm telling you. I mean, to me, that's not that far fetched. I mean, look at those. What are those cuttlefish?
Yeah.
That, you know, they
so.
can camouflage themselves like perfectly to like the coral reef and stuff. So, I mean, why is it so far of a stretch to say that over the course of evolution?
I mean, look at the general cloaking abilities of squids and stuff in general.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's tons of video footage out there where they can camouflage themselves the same way. He rage quit.
Ninja says, what if this wall is part of the ice and we just can't see it?
So that's kind of what that theory is. While we're waiting on Bill, we'll touch on that a little bit more. It's a great question. When we delve into our episode on Flat Earth, we'll cover it a lot more in depth. I just heard back from him. Yeah, he did crash. He said give him a second. Sorry.
Stick with us, folks. We appreciate it.
Yes, we do. So, in the flat Earth theory, it's like a 40-mile wall of ice that contains everything on the disk. So like I said, if I don't really have anything here. Let me grab a sheet of paper. Prime example. If this is flat Earth, it's round, not square. All of your water and everything pours over the edge and gravity pulls it back up and through the center. And it just a continuous waterfall type effect. It almost makes half of a sphere. If this is your flat Earth, whatever we have for landmass, there's about a 40-mile wall around the entire circumference of that landmass. And the reason that ban is there is to prevent any of us, you know, if you go on a airplane guided tour, it prevents that plane from getting close enough for you to be able to see that wall. It prevents any ships that may sail up to it from getting that close to where you might see that wall. There's hundreds of different theories of what can be beyond the wall, from heaven to just outer space to the edge of the dome, like I said earlier, where it comes down and meets. Part of the flat Earth theory is if you watch a rocket launch, the rocket doesn't ever go straight up and out of the ozone. It always goes up and curves. Part of the theory is it's curving with the dome. And we get into moon landing. I mean, this is such an entangled web with flat Earth that we're really going to have to work out how we cover it, because we're going to have to...
Might have to be like 2 episodes.
Well, not only that, but we might have to have other episodes leading up into it, kind of like this one, where we're not touching on it a whole lot, but we're going to have like the moon landing theory, all kinds of other, you know, Nazis might have to be done around that time, so forth and so on, just so that everything ties in together, and when we do finally hit it, you can be like, all right, that's how that plays in. Ross the Boss says, could there be magnetic pulls under the ice that throws off a lot of stuff? I wouldn't be surprised, with you being that close to the South Pole. I'm sure that probably plays a factor too. I know
just those magnetic fields in general have got to be, I mean, so different than they are here.
A good example is up by my camp, dude. You know, camp is 5 miles north of south of where my house is.
Yeah.
I go to camp, and because of the big underground or the big open pit mine that was there and all of the iron ore in the land, we had the hardest time for the longest time even getting around some of the thicker swamps and stuff, because if you took a compass in there, it would just sit there and spin like it would in a Bermuda Triangle. It just sits there and spins. It never hits true north. You can't navigate out there until probably about 25 years ago, when GPS started becoming a more affordable thing. Were we able to ever get in there and get some of the bigger animals that were stuck down in that swamp? So it's very, very well possible, you know. But even at that, Bill's back. But even at that,
Sorry, everybody. Ignore my piece of shit PC, because apparently with one fan down, it just loves to crash. So I wish I could show you, but I have another fan, my actual fan, aimed directly at it, hoping we can continue straight.
Perfect.
So we'll see.
Perfect. All right.
Pick it up.
Ready, Billy? Billy.
What? Guys, I was in the middle of you guys were just rambling. So my shit died.
So the USS Pine Island, right? It was one of the major ships used in Operation High Jump. Okay. So I think right where I lost you, I'll backtrack a little bit. So the ship served through the final months of the Second World War and the immediate post-war period, but was decommissioned on May 1st, 1950. When the Korean War broke out, the ship was recommissioned on October 7th, 1950 in Alameda, California. The ship was finally decommissioned for good on June 16th, 1967, and laid up in the U.S. Naval Reserve Fleet. But here's where the story gets interesting. The USS Pine Island was struck from the Naval Register at some point after June 16th, 1967. The date is unknown, but if you look in the Naval Register right now, the USS Pine Island does not show up. Her title was transferred to the Maritime Administration for layup in the National Defense Reserve Fleet on an unknown date, and the ship's final disposition to this day is unknown. How long does one go without losing a major surface ship over 640 feet long, almost 70 feet wide, with a displacement over 15,000 tons? How do you just lose a ship like that?
Yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean you don't know where it went? And I don't have any that I put down here, but if you look into it, it's not the only equipment that disappeared after Operation High Jump at all. Then I have something here about the Admiral Byrd, actually, that I found interesting. On March 5th, 1947, the El Mercurio newspaper of Santiago, Chile, had a headline article titled "On Board the Mount Olympus on the High Seas," which quoted Byrd in an interview with Lee Von Atta. Admiral Byrd declared today that it was imperative for the United States to initiate immediate defense measures against hostile regions. Furthermore, Byrd stated that he didn't want to frighten anyone unduly, but that it was a bitter reality that in case of a new war, the continental United States would be attacked by flying objects which could fly from pole to pole at incredible speeds. Interestingly, not long before he made these comments, the Admiral had recommended defense bases at the North Pole. These were not isolated remarks, however. Admiral Byrd later repeated each of these points of view, resulting from he described as his personal knowledge, meaning he had been there, right? Which points to Antarctica, gathered both at the North and South Poles, because this guy was like big Arctic, Antarctic explorer. Like he led all these expeditions. It's kind of like what his job was. He was hospitalized in March 1955, and he was not allowed to hold any more press conferences. This was right after he was placed in charge of Operation Deep Freeze, which was in 1957, which was another exploration of the Antarctic. However, he died shortly before that operation could commence of a heart attack in his home. He was old. He was like 68 years old, but he kind of started talking about things.
Careful. My parents are 60, 68, 7.
Well, so. I'm 27, so that's fucking old.
Unreal.
That's
awesome.
interesting.
I mean, I hope I live that long. But yeah, so I mean, you kind of go on the timeline. He started kind of talking about stuff, kind of warning about having to defend from the poles, and then he dies of a heart attack. Actually, it's classified as a what is it? It's like it's not a heart attack, but it's like a
Cardiac event, or
yes,
yeah.
in his home.
Interestingly enough, and this will be in one of our future episodes when we get into like government secret warfare and black ops missions and stuff like that, it's believed that our government holds technology to a heart attack gun. It doesn't fire any weaponry or projectile or anything like that, but if shot off in the direction of an individual, can heart attack right there.
Got to be something to do with like electromagnetism or something, I'm assuming.
No idea. I haven't looked that far into it. All I know is that it exists.
Hopefully, we don't find out, right?
Yes.
One can only
Yeah.
hope.
So that's all I have about Operation High Jump. There's a ton of information out there, but honestly, we probably could have made a whole episode about it, as most things that we discuss.
Yes.
So that's all I have for that. Just that some of the equipment seems to have disappeared, and Rear Admiral Byrd died. Let's just say suspiciously.
Yeah. Well, and that, playing into the Nazi thing, and with the body count that they had, if that ship got hit in warfare or went down or anything, they probably did manage to salvage most of the crew. So, it's interesting nonetheless.
So Ninja says, you may cover this more later, but why is Antarctica more discussed the South than the South Pole?
Antarctica itself is more discussed than the South Pole. Even though the South Pole lies on Antarctica, it's not really the source of the conspiracies. The South Pole itself is actually pretty lame. I mean, it's about as lame as that fan right there sitting behind me. It just kind of sits there and does its thing. Both of the poles, as a matter of fact, are fairly inactive. And I don't know, yes, it is in this section. We'll cover a little bit about pole shifting, which is something that can kind of...
That's what I was going to say. They're lame until they switch, because that's kind of on the verge of happening.
So, I mean, it's the pole itself doesn't really have a whole lot to do with the continent and the conspiracy. So, ancient civilizations in Antarctica. I hope you boys are ready for a fucking ride, because we're going on one. Before we do get into it, though...
I got a fresh beer.
Before we do get into it, though, my wife texted me and she says she's here to support us, but she stays for the chubby puppy sightings. So...
There he is.
Look at that face.
Fucking sausage.
Come here. Come on, fatty.
That's an absolute unit. A tank.
Yes.
Talking, buddy. He's thick.
That's a thick ass boy.
That's goddamn right.
All right. Ancient civilizations in Antarctica. In 2016, the world ignited with rumors of pyramids in Antarctica's icy landscape. Can you guys still hear me all right at this distance, or am I choppy yet?
Oh, yeah, I can hear him.
Yeah, you're good.
All right. Google Earth images were being discovered depicting what resembled the pyramids of ancient Egypt. There are a number of theories behind the origins of the pyramids. Some are very controversial and include theories such as Atlantean civilization building them, or that they were built by extraterrestrials. Other research has suggested natural geological phenomenon as a source of the pyramids. The phenomenon is known as nuntucks. Nuntucks are the peaks of mountains that protrude through the layer of ice and are higher than the surrounding terrain. The discovery of the pyramids has led many to suggest that Antarctica may have been inhabited by humans sometime within the last 6,000 years. It was around that time in history that we see the construction of pyramids and other civilizations, such as Egyptian and Mayan cultures. A researcher by the name of Charles Hapgood has dedicated years to constructing supporting evidence that an ancient civilization once inhabited Antarctica, and that though it was once ice covered, or though it is now ice covered, at the time of its inhabitants it was a flourishing land with forests and deserts. In 1953, a map named the Piri Reis was discovered in Turkey. I heard that, and I'm jealous.
I've just not to be that guy, but in my research, it's been Reyes because it's actually just because it actually has an apostrophe in the middle. It's like RE''IS, so
okay.
Reyes is kind of
I didn't know.
Not that it matters a ton, but
so it's Reyes.
Reyes, like Jose Reyes.
Reyes.
Yeah.
All right. The map was believed to be copied from another that was made over 6,000 years ago and depicted the land of Antarctica. Though Antarctica was not officially discovered until 1773 by Captain James Cook, there is vast emerging evidence that other explorers had discovered it centuries beforehand. A historian by the name of Christopher Adam from the University of Cambridge has called the Piri Reis one of the most puzzling maps of all time. Using seismic and sonar technologies, researchers have confirmed that under the ice cap on Antarctica, the geographical outline of the coastline, as well as the mountain ranges, plateaus, etc., match perfectly with the Queen Maud land in Antarctica on the Piri Reis map. The following, which Pants will read, is a letter from Harold Z. Allmeyer, a lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force who oversaw the expedition to confirm the Piri Reis authenticity.
So the letter's dated July 6th, 1960, subject Admiral Piri Reis map to Professor Charles H. Hapgood, Keene College, Keene, New Hampshire. It says, Dear Professor Hapgood, your request of evaluation of certain unusual features of the Piri Reis map of 1513 by this organization has been reviewed. The claim that the lower part of the map portrays the Princess Martha coast of Queen Maud Land, Antarctic, and the Palmer Peninsula is reasonable. We find that this is the most logical and, in all probability, the correct interpretation of the map. The geographical detail shown in the lower part of the map agrees very remarkably with the results of the seismic profile made across the top of the ice cap by the Swedish-British Antarctic expedition of 1949. This indicates the coastline had been mapped before it was covered by the ice cap. The ice cap in this region is now about a mile thick. We have no idea how the data on this map can be reconciled with the supposed state of geographical knowledge in 1513. Signed, Harold Z. Allmeyer, Lieutenant Colonel, United States Air Force. So essentially, the United States Air Force is saying, yeah, this map is so accurate, we have no fucking clue how that happens. Like, it shouldn't be possible this map is accurate.
Yes. So aside from the pyramids, there is also evidence that there may be entire colonies emerging from the melting snow. Images depict outlays of structures forming what may be huts or houses surrounding the locations of the Antarctic pyramids. The patterns are being discovered in pictures taken by NASA satellites and are being reviewed by archaeologists by an archaeologist by the name of Ashoka Tripathi, who is with the Department of Archaeology at the University of Calcutta. Tripathi believes that there is stark evidence of human civilizations, stating that the patterns depict nothing we should see from geomorphological formations found in nature. He also states that the only issue that lies within these images is that they are taken about 1.25 miles under the ice, and we currently do not have an explanation for the phenomena. So basically what they're doing is they're using advanced imaging to get these photographs. However, Tripathi is also on record stating that the current images we have are from a very small portion of the landmass that is Antarctica, and that there is great possibility that we may find other additional sites throughout the region covered in ice as research continues. Science has found possible explanations for the compelling evidence that could prove the discovery of civilizations on Antarctica. 90 million years ago, when Pangaea was still breaking up, Antarctica and Australia were a lot closer to one another than they are now, having derived from the same chunk of breaking land. The climate was drastically warmer due to a concentration of carbon gases in the atmosphere, which would have created an environment where most, if not all, of the polar ice sheet had melted. This would have pushed water levels over 550 feet higher than what we see today. In 2017, an expedition to the Amundsen Sea was launched off the western coast of Antarctica and about 560 miles from the South Pole. Researchers drilled into the seabed close to the location of Pine Island. What they pulled up was vastly different than what we were seeing in sediment features closer to the surface. From a depth of 27 to 30 meters, or 88 to 98 feet, below the current ocean floor, they had found a layer of sediment that had originally formed on land rather than in the ocean. This is the first ever evidence of its kind. Until this point, no one had ever pulled.
Are you done with the Piri-Reis map?
Yes.
Okay. I have more information. So do you want me to just wait?
Yeah, wait until after this one. We'll go back and cover it.
Perfect.
So this is the first ever evidence of this kind. Until this point, no one had ever pulled a Cretaceous period sample out of the ground from such a southern point of the globe. CT scans on the site of the drilling operation had showed a vast system of fossilized plant roots. Microscopic study of the core sample had shown evidence of pollen and spores, which pointed science towards proof of a fossilized ancient rainforest. This rainforest would have been a dense, temperate, swampy forest that would be similar to what we see today in New Zealand.
Unreal.
Okay, I mean, what?
Yeah. Basically, it was a tropical paradise. Go ahead.
So, I mean, those pyramids could be real then.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, think of it, you know.
Sounds like it.
Yep.
If there was indigenous people living there, right?
Yep. I'll let you go ahead with the Piri-Reis.
Okay. I just have a little more information about the Piri-Reis map, and a little bit's going to overlap, but I have it written out, so I'm just going to read the whole thing. It'll take a couple minutes. So his real name was actually Piri Ibn Haji Mehmed. He was an admiral in the Turkish Navy, and using other sources as reference, which I actually found this kind of interesting, it's theorized that he actually used maps from the library at Alexandria, which, again, I know we say it all the time, but I mean, that could be an episode in the future too. It's basically the greatest library mankind had ever known. Essentially like our Library of Congress right now, but 1,000 years ago.
Gotcha.
And also the Imperial Library at Constantinople, which is Istanbul right now, which was another big deal. But using maps he found there is how he drew the map that he drew in 1513. And which just makes this even crazier that Antarctica was so accurate the farther back you go. But the map itself actually depicts the western coast of Africa, the eastern coast of South America, and the northern coast of Antarctica. And again, like Paul had said before, 200 to 300 years before Antarctica was believed to have been discovered is when, you know, so he drew this map 200 to 300 years before then, but using maps from thousands of years before. So, I mean, that kind of throws a wrench in the whole discovering in 1700s to begin with. The official science of Antarctica says the ice cap has been there for millions of years. However, the Piri-Reis map shows an actual coastline depicts Antarctica as a somewhat tropical place, which is what Paul just touched on. Further and more accurate studies have proven that the last period of ice-free condition in the Antarctic ended about 6,000 years ago. Again, Paul sort of touched on that. So that's kind of throws a wrench in it. In 1953, a Turkish naval officer sent a map to the U.S. Navy Hydrographic Bureau. So this was actually before Professor Keene letter. To evaluate it, they called upon a man by the name of Arlington H. Mallory, a known authority on ancient maps. Apparently, the U.S. Navy Hydrographic Bureau had actually used this man before to evaluate some old maps, and he had done a good job. After doing a study, Mallory discovered the projection method that Reyes has used. And to check the accuracy of the map, he made a grid and transferred the Piri-Reis map onto the globe and found it to be almost perfectly accurate. He stated that in his expert opinion, the only way to make a map this accurate is by aerial surveillance. They didn't have aerial surveillance in 1513 or before then that we know of.
Aliens.
I mean, I could take my hat off and just do the hair thing.
The other thing was that another thing that Mallory discovered is that Reyes, or the map makers before him that he referenced, would have had to use something known, and I didn't research into this too much because me and math don't mix.
I got this one.
He would have had to use spheroid trigonometry to make this map, a process which supposedly is not available until the middle of the 18th century, 200 years after Reyes made the map and thousands of years after the maps that he referenced. So either they knew about spheroid trigonometry before then, or they had a different way to do it, or aliens.
Yes.
I mean, is this the thing we're gonna do every time? We're gonna go aliens.
Yes.
That could be our little like.
I think that's what we're gonna do from now on.
Get a T-shirt. We get a T-shirt made. Aliens.
Hey, so really quick,
Nope.
Ross the boss.
Don't even touch on that. I already responded to it. We're gonna leave it at that. That is gonna be the king answer. That's gonna be how that works.
All right, bet.
Oh God, you guys do not. I just want to tell you do not want to see me delete this beer because I'm not talented. Like, there's not many things I can do, but deleting liquids is up there. It's gone.
So, like I said there, we hit our 50 follower goal at the close of our first episode after accepting our Twitch affiliate status. We will shotgun a beer, all three of us, simultaneously.
And I'll win.
It might happen, but we will make that happen. Ninja asked if we know if Antarctica was a part of the big landmass that once was Earth. That's what Pangea is. We're going to have another episode on Pangea, so I didn't touch a whole lot on it. I mean, like I said, in one of the past episodes, we have probably 4 years worth of shit to cover already.
Yeah. But I think you touched on it earlier in the episode. I believe, just to little bit answer it, I believe it's believed it broke off from Africa. I think you said that earlier.
Yes.
If you kind of line up how the coastlines work.
Australia, and I have a map showing it too. Right around the time of the Piri-Reis map, Australia was kind of like right here, and Antarctica was kind of right here, and they were still kind of moving apart and down. But yeah, Pangea was the one landmass that they believe once existed on Earth until a cataclysmic event broke it all apart and it separated out to what it is now.
Yeah.
So I have a really short paragraph to sum up the ancient civilizations here, and we'll get to pulling up maps and stuff like that. Our closing chat time with you guys, stuff like that. The second theory that deserves credible mention is polar shifting. Pole shifting has been discovered to have happened numerous times throughout the history of planet Earth. When a pole shift occurs, a displacement of the Earth's axis happens, which basically means if we're sitting here floating through space right now at this axis, and the United States is here, and Africa's here, and so forth and so on. When a pole shifts, that whole Earth tilts with it. So whether it shifts 45-degree angles to the other side, whatever, we might see a drastic change in climate. Up in North America, we're used to the northern parts of it seeing mild to severe winters and so forth, and the southern more parts of it by the equator seeing hot, humid, or dry summers depending on the area of the country you're in. That can drastically flip at a moment's notice, where we don't see that anymore. This
Well, it's happened throughout history.
Yes.
Think of the Ice Age.
Yes, exactly. Think of what we're talking about right now with Pangea breaking up and Antarctica having a tropical rainforest on it.
Yeah.
That's this changes the climate of various geographical locations drastically. Pole shifts happen slowly over the course of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years before settling into the new normal. No matter what the origin of these snow-covered pyramids may be, these mysterious yet distinctive land features will always spark speculation of possible human inhabitants on the continent of Antarctica in recent history. All in all, there is a lot of uncertainty surrounding the continent itself. The continent remains shrouded in mystery, and speculation is all we have. What is really going on Antarctica? Is it the edge of a flat Earth, where we find where the dome meets the edge? Does heaven lay on the other side of a 40-mile high large ice wall, as proposed by other Flat Earth Society members? Is there extraterrestrial activity that the world's powers are trying to protect, or a hold of the center of a hollow Earth and an entirely new civilization? Did the remaining Nazi regiments set up a shop and continue their agenda there? All in all, it's up to you to decide for yourself.
That's the one thing we didn't touch much on was Nazis, and I'm kind of sad, but we'll get to it in other episodes.
Yes.
There's a lot of there's
so much more to talk about when it comes to the Nazis.
Yeah.
That's like a whole other topic.
Yeah.
Well,
I
know there was a few people that were hoping for that this episode.
Yeah, I might get canceled for saying this, but there's an episode we're gonna do in the future, basically on like Nazis and the occult, and that's what I'm here for.
And it's not that any of us support that; it's just there's so much around it that we're
not at all.
I mean, that should go without say. Should go without say. But
we don't need cancel culture popping in here.
But it's 2020, Bill. I mean,
yeah. So
fucking real.
I've got. Hold on. Yeah, we have an episode coming up too, Ross. The Area 51 type thing. We're gonna cover a quite a few of those too. The Area 51 has seemingly shut down, and they have a new. I think it's Area 246, pretty close by that they're using. But so getting into the maps here, this is a map of the current countries that have research bases set up on Antarctica. And you can kind of see that there's a vast array of countries who are in there. Not as many as you'd think, with there being 54 members of the treaty. But in pointing out that red cross earlier, this is what I thought was super suspicious. So if I zoom in really close here, it's hard to read. But right at the center of Antarctica, you have the Amundsen Scott that's set up by America. That red cross was right about here. And why is America the only country researching that far inland?
Because America, baby.
So the other thing that I noticed too is you take this area right around here. Japan's right on the edge of this line. But inside of this line, in most of this area out here, is uninhabited by any research team. You know, if this is the location of the South Pole, that's true south. Why isn't anybody in here yet?
I mean, it's a fair question.
Kind of suspicious.
Or why isn't there anybody officially there yet?
Yes, that is worth notable mention. So the other map that I have was the one I talked about earlier, showing the continents breaking up from Pangea. Now, mind you, this is more centric on Antarctica and the surrounding countries in relation at that time. But it also shows something that Pants is going to get cock stiff about. We have Zealandia here too.
Yeah, there we go.
That's what we need, boys.
Yep. But like I was saying, that here is a drill site that we were talking about with the 90 million year old shit in it. All the pollen, spores, everything that they discovered where they shouldn't have. This is the actual South Pole. That red cross is like right up in here-ish. In between two sets of writings. And it's off in that vast land that only America is willfully admitting being that close to. I mean, are we keeping a close watch on a Nazi base that's there, kind of centric in the continent?
I mean, what if they're fucking part of it?
Alien base?
That too.
What you said? It's...
I mean, there's a lot to touch on there.
Yeah? Touch on it.
No, I mean, I feel like that in itself could be like a multi-series fucking...
Okay. We're probably going to have to do it with aliens because there's so much shit out there. We can very well do it with this, you know, and we visit the Nazi occult and stuff. We can come back to this part of it.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody makes a quick note of it. So, what do you got?
It's definitely part of it. I mean, I can't wait. That it's unreal.
So, I have a couple of different topics in mind for next week's episode. We haven't pinned anything down yet. Like I had said in a group text, Pants, I don't want to steal your choice away from you. I don't know if you have your heart set on anything, or if you'd be okay doing what we talked about. If not, I have a couple of different back burner ones that I could pull up.
When would I ever not be okay talking about anything that's on the list?
Well, I didn't know if you were saving it.
Let it out, man.
So I think what we'll do is next week, what I want to cover is, and I'm actually forgetting myself here, so I got to go back into the podcast chat.
Unreal.
I know that the two played in together, but...
Yeah. I don't want to steal your thunder.
No. Where is it? No, I think I just messaged you, didn't I? I didn't message podcast. I cannot find it right now.
Preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Fuck, where did it go?
So in other words, we'll have some different topics for you guys next week.
No.
It won't be Antarctica again.
All right. I remember it now that I can't find it. I don't know how in the hell it just disappeared, and maybe that's another conspiracy topic. But so
government.
Putin the octopus got rid of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's my pick for next week, and I kind of wanted to work this out with Pants because they play so close to each other. I want to cover the Mayan calendar and CERN. For those of you who don't know what CERN is, it's the Hadron Super Collider that is, I believe, in Switzerland.
Yeah, it's Switzerland.
And how those two play together. So, for those of you who don't know, the Mayan calendar was set to end December 21st, 2012.
The Quad Father said, "Yup."
Yes.
Yup.
Right around that date is when CERN had their first successful miniature black hole open up within the Hadron Super Collider. And that opens up us to discussing the Mandela effect. And I wanted to work it out with Pants to see if he would be willing to choose that for...
Yeah, fuck it. Let's get it over with.
Yes. So next week we will bring you the Mayan calendar in CERN, and the following week we will bring you the Mandela effect. Let all of your friends know, because this one's going to be a fucking banger.
I'm turning my volume down for the Mandela effect episode because I'm screaming. Just so you know.
You've got to be in a parallel universe
Yes.
screaming the exact same thing at the exact same time.
Yes,
Probably.
this one, this next 2 weeks is going to be
Dude's excited.
really, really fucking good. So, I mean,
Yeah.
spread the word, get us out there. We had a record night tonight. We held 15 views for most of the podcast. You guys are awesome. I can't do anything but thank you guys like I always do. I mean, it's unbelievable watching this grow week to week. We went from 6 this week to around 10 last week to 15 this week. We're taking leaps and bounds, and it's all because of you guys. So we're gonna keep
I'm
putting
convinced
ourselves.
they're only here because of Bill, because I don't know how the hell 15 people want to listen to me talk.
I feel the same way,
Gotta be
but
that mustache.
I feel the exact same way.
Hey, producer Bill doing his part. Got you.
Attaboy.
Yes. Yes. So, I guess with that being said, we'll see you guys next Sunday, 8 p.m. The close of our episode this week is going to go a little bit different after the outro clip. I didn't really talk this over with you guys, and I apologize. I meant to beforehand, but we ran out of time. I'm going to kick us over to another channel.
Hey,
Just
before
kinda-
you do that, you're missing some comments right at the very end.
Oh,
Dirty C says, "I want to see this grow, bud." Ross says, if you if you get 100 by 3 months, Bill has to let me shave his head bald. Unreal.
I will make like 95 accounts and fucking subscribe.
All right, that's how we're playing it. All right.
And then
Hey,
Ninja
hey,
said
hey.
that he can see this going far. So
Yeah, and I need
We'll see.
Pants' wife to hop in right now and let me know how many I need to shave his fucking head.
you don't have much work to do, bub.
Some bitch is already gone, Chief.
That's rude. All right.
Oh, I gotta put
You guys
this.
win.
I gotta put this up quick. My wife did a little bit of researching,
Uh-oh.
and I got it through text message, so it's not gonna show up the best. I'm gonna kill my ring light. Try to get it. My wife found us shirts. It's just a matter of
Unreal.
the 3 of us getting them to wear.
Here we go.
Perfect.
Yes.
So anyway, back to what I was explaining there. This is going to help us get a lot more kind of exposure too. Throughout Twitch, we can go and raid channels. We still are holding 10 viewers. When we pop into this channel after our outro plays, say what's up to this chick. Let her know that you are there, you're watching. Say hi, say howdy. She's a smaller streamer that I found. Watching...
Make sure to tell her who sent you.
Well, it'll pop up that we're raiding her when we raid her.
Still,
So, yep, tell her that you're with us when you pop into her chat. Say hi. Hang out for a couple of minutes. Boost her views. If you pop out after that, whatever. If you hang out and watch, it's the same thing. But she started playing a game that the 3 of us started playing together in our free time, aside from the podcast stuff. I don't know what she's playing right now, but she may be doing it. It's a ghost hunting game. But go and check her out. She's a small streamer, willing to help support us if we throw a little bit back her way too. So, with that being said, I am going to kick the outro. You guys have a great week, and we will see you next Sunday.
be good.